Welcome back to 1995, everybody. Jeff and Kevin here. What we got this week is Paul W.S. Anderson's Mortal Kombat.
I wasn't sure which one of us were going to scream it first.
Yeah, well, you never know, but we got to start this off right.
Round one.
Kevin. Did you ever see this one in the theaters, or how did you first see this one?
I did. I'm pretty sure I was there opening day for this one.
Okay.
Like, it didn't fit in the bigger theater that we had in town. Just I don't think they thought it was going to make that much money, so they got it in the little shitty rinky-dink theater that only had one screen, and they blew it up all weekend. And I know I saw it at least once that weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. I kind of liked it.
You kind of liked it?
Kind of liked it.
Kind of liked it. Yeah, I saw this opening weekend at the theaters too, and I had a blast with it. As a adaptation, at first I was like, wow, where are all the fatalities at? There's all the blood and gore. Like, where's this? Where's that? But ultimately, I still had a fun time. And I do remember walking out of the theater in University City, California, San Diego, next to La Jolla. And I was with some other people around my age, and a lot of them felt the same way, but they all had the sense of, that was fun, though. So there was a sense of fun to the movie. It carried through. And when eventually we got to the sequel, we learned how good the first one really was.
Yes. It makes you appreciate what you had.
Yeah.
There's so many flaws with this movie that you can call Mortal Kombat a bad movie.
Oh, yeah.
You can't call it a stinker, though, because it's like you say, you can't watch this film and not have fun. From the very moment the credits roll, you hear Mortal Kombat!
Before they get into anything, it's over the opening credit sequence with New Line flowing in
and
to kick off the
fire.
movie.
Yeah, and all sorts of shit. Like they are like bombarding you with extremities. If there was a sound to the 90s, it was the Mortal Kombat theme song.
Dear God, yeah.
The Mortal Kombat movie was not that, unfortunately.
If only it was a little more like the newer one back then, but without the unnecessary new main character.
Yes.
Because they had Liu Kang as the main lead of this one, and it worked very well. When you break it down, the story, while simple, actually tells the story of Mortal Kombat within a logical sense for what it was in the 90s.
Yeah,
so it's just unfortunate it wasn't a little more adult oriented, but they were trying to go for the mass appeal. That's kind of why I was like, we only had like one swear word in this whole thing. And I'm going to play the clip, but you're not going to hear anything because StreamYards doesn't like swearing when you upload a video clip. But here it goes, because it smells like something. And Sonya says, it's bullshit.
There's a Chabornik joke in there somewhere.
Yeah.
This flick, and I'm guessing it was Bob Shea. They don't say it specifically, but I think it was Bob Shea that was in charge of New Line at the time. Hated the script to this movie. Absolutely hated it, but wanted the payday for the movie because, of course, they knew that it was going to be huge.
Oh, yeah.
And just kept telling Anderson, I don't care how stupid it is, just get it done, make the fucking movie. and I feel bad for Anderson because he'd never directed anything professionally to this scale before and had never done anything with CGI. And so everything was training on the job for him. And they put a lot of pressure on him. And fortunately, he built up a cast that helped him just as much as he helped them.
Oh, yeah. He had a hell of a cast with this one. And this is technically his second film, but it was his first commercial success. So it came after his very first independent film, which when you're looking at movies these days, you're wondering why is this person who's only done like one independent film doing like this big mainstream commercial movie? This isn't a foreign concept to Hollywood. It just seems to be way worse these days because they're taking people who've done like documentaries and they're throwing them into Star Wars, just for an example. They took him from just a basic independent film to maybe this kind of mid-budget sort of hopeful property that it would maybe turn into. And that's how he got in with Mortal Kombat. But ultimately, the success of this movie, and it was a success, led to him being able to do Event Horizon, Soldier, and it just led to his career after this. And that's where he got his name from. I don't begrudge him. I think if he had a little bit more of a say, we might have gotten a little bit more of a different spin on Mortal Kombat. But I think he did very well with what he had available to him, resources wise. And even the practical effects, when they had the practical effects going, those are fantastic. Kind of the drawback is with some of the CGI stuff. You can kind of, I'll give you this one. The CGI is not great.
It sucks ass.
Don't hold back. Tell us how you really feel.
Scorpion's hand poops.
Oh, God, yeah.
His hand poops. It's bad CGI. It's the worst. It's the worst part of cinema that we've ever had. Like, if you like exclude horrible things like racism and snuff films and things like that, CGI is the worst thing that's ever happened to cinema. Like the 90s portion of it.
Kinda.
All true. No, the CGI was sparse in this, and I appreciated that. They used it more than what they should have, but they didn't use it nearly as much as they could have, and I do appreciate that.
Yeah, the only time I felt it really got really bad though was with the fight between Scorpion and Johnny Cage.
Yes, I think I got it here where it's like he screams the whole "get over here" and you get goosebumps because it is Ed Boon saying it, so it's the voice that you know from the game.
It is correct,
but it turns into this like CGI snaky poop thing that's like chasing Johnny all around the aspens of China. Which I don't know. And like he eventually beats it by having it smash into a tree. It wasn't fulfilling as the fight you wanted from Scorpion at that point.
right?
So what they did is they did a reshoot. Instead of having him do the shadow kick to win, which is going to be very quick, is they had him teleport to hell and had a bigger fight there. That made it feel a little bit better because you got to see Scorpion rip off his mask and breathe fire out of his skull.
Which is what I wanted to see. As far as like a arcade going fan, you know, you at least, if you're not going to give fatalities, you at least have to give everybody else a little bit of something for everybody else that's in this movie. There was Easter eggs. We had Jax in an early cameo scene, which you would get more out of him in the second movie with a different actor. Recasting aside, but at least there was some like Easter eggs, things going on in this movie. And with the fights, you did get some of the traditional kicks, and largely I enjoyed the fights. They were well choreographed. They felt very natural. They took advantage of being out in open sets, like running around. Like you never really got that in the early arcade games, because this is more loosely based off of Mortal Kombat 2 than it is Mortal Kombat 1. And so the ability to just kind of keep Johnny running around the forest while Scorpion's chasing his ass down, and it felt a little more alive. So it felt like it accentuated the games without taking too much away, because it already had taken too much away from the core of what drew a lot of us to the games to begin with, and that was the ultra violence and the gore and the pretty interesting story. I mean, shit, Raiden is based off of the Lightning character in Big Trouble from Little China. There's multiple characters based off of like everything from Snake Plissken to like freaking Big Trouble Little China. They're fans, and you know, to be able to take from a video game that was honoring films from before and then bringing that now back into film, it was pretty interesting with what they were trying to do. They just weren't able to kind of go all the way with it.
Yeah, and I get what Bob was trying to do at that point. It's what all studios try to do. You try to get as many butts in the seats as you can.
Butts and seats.
Yeah, and kids, the studio execs think kids play video games. They're stupid. They just pump quarters into that fucking thing. Well, Paul Anderson plays fucking video games all the time.
There it is.
That's how he, like, every good thing that happens to him in his life has happened because of video games. This movie, AVP, his wife and child, like everything.
Resident Evil.
He became romantically involved with Mila, I believe, because he made friends with her brother playing video games after shooting. Like, that's cool as shit to me, and they're still very happily married.
Yeah.
And anytime a comic book, or not comic book, anytime a video game movie came up for the next 10 years after this, at least, Paul's name was involved somehow. Either he was going to be approached for it, he was consulting, or he was already involved.
Yes.
The biggest missed it was Castlevania, I think.
Yeah, I think his studio is Constantine Films. Yeah, that was associated with quite a few different movies, including the Castlevania. I think he would have, I know people like to look down on him as a director, but I don't hate him. I actually enjoy most of his movies. Now, are the stories great for the Resident Evil ones? That's the first one. No. I freely admit they're trash, but I love them. They're very well directed. The editing's pretty good. Yeah, so the story sucks. I tune in to watch those movies to turn my brain off, eat some popcorn, and have a few beers or drinks and just chill. And I have a blast watching them. But are they great movies? No, but they're fun. So you can always at least count on him to deliver fun movies. Are you going to get the most, adherence to the core story? No, but does it keep the spirit alive? You can't say no to that because he does give you enough of the spirit to keep it going. The big problem with the Resident Evil movies by comparison is there's not enough scariness to it. They weren't so much horror centered. They were more sci-fi zombie apocalyptic kind of fun romps.
Yeah.
I mean, if he needed to and he wanted to give a straight good horror movie, hey, there's only one movie we need to point to: Event Horizon. Everybody sleeps on that one. I hated that movie when it first came out. I don't hate it anymore now that I've grown up. I appreciate that movie. It's excellent. The man is capable of really good work. I think people give him too much crap. Like, just like Michael Bay. He's a proven director who just decided, hey, I'm going to start cashing checks for Transformers.
Event Horizon saved horror films from hairdressers. That's what it did.
Ooh.
It took
controversial, Kevin.
All the slasher cocaine bullshit, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream type movies that were just cookie cutter. I mean, all horror is pretty much cookie cutter, but those flicks were very cookie cutter. And Event Horizon took that, kicked it right out the fucking window and said, you suck. Here's something legitimately fucking scary that people haven't seen in a real long fucking time. So long that it's like you figured, okay, this is just gonna be Alien, and again. No, it's not. It was something completely fucking different with the crazy ass vision. He has that. The studios never saw it, and that's why Event Horizon kind of got the woo treatment that it did.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that's why some of us who had seen that one like early on when it like first came out, we're like, oh, that's kind of lame. Watch it again. You might change your tune because you're begging and crying for good space horror. We ain't getting it. We haven't had it for Prometheus or Alien Covenant or anything else that they've tried to remotely do. Got to go back. This was a good one, and it was on the heels of this Mortal Kombat, which this is a good fun movie. I will not stop saying that. I'm proud to have it in my collection. My original DVD when it first came out is in this case to go with my Blu-ray.
Ah, I think you've got, yeah, it's the same one I've got. I picked
Blu-ray's
that.
in the 4K player because I was watching off my 4K player, but that's my original DVD in there. Flipper
Ah,
disc.
Flipper disc. Is that the one that had all the extra skin codes?
I didn't get any codes with that. What I got for special features on this Blu-ray though is a video game trailer, of course, and tie-in animated Mortal Kombat: The Journey Begins. I believe that was the cartoon, but I thought they did two of them.
Yes, they did, I thought.
And then
Oh,
there's a
wait.
theatrical trailer. So I'd love a special edition. You know, Paul's happy to talk about these movies. Come on.
I would sit and listen to that man talk about just about anything because I mean, it's like, yeah,
Hmm.
to your point, a lot of the movies that he's done have gotten a lot of the internet dickhead nerds fucking bitching and complaining about everything. Those people bitch and complain about everything in general anyway. So
Yeah. Vocal minority is what I call that.
yes,
And that's not a racist thing. That's just literally the 20 people on Twitter who want to bitch and complain about him, whereas the rest of the people are just like, hey, these are fun movies. Just saying.
he would have given us something better if he could have. They wouldn't let him.
Sorry.
So sorry. I love Paul. I love Mila. Their family is just cool to follow on the internet, but their
They're
filmography
good people.
their filmography is even better.
Oh God, I want to do Fifth Element at some point, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, we're not talking about Oscar films. We're not talking about like the most technically brilliant films, but we are talking about beautiful films and we're talking about fun films. One thing that isn't talked about enough in this movie that is actually better than the remake of Mortal Kombat is the lighting. The lighting and the set works that they did were fucking amazing for this flick.
Yeah, they did really good with like a lot of the production design, set design, locations, just overall like well shot. Like
Yeah.
bravo.
And like he had carte blanche to do pretty much whatever he wanted within a budget. And because he didn't have
Mhm.
like the huge experience to do all this amazing shit for like extra scratch, he was like, Kevin Smith is like, yeah, I think I could do this, this, and this for that much.
Yeah.
And Bob Shaye's like, wonderful, take it.
That's how you should always do films. Like if you're coming from the independent background, don't give them the blank check for $250 million. Give them, hey, we're going to give you 35. Try and keep it under that. A lot of independent filmmakers, when they make that leap, they do tend to keep that mentality because that's what brought them to the dance of what do we need to do differently? Make sure we come in under, because if we have extra at some point, maybe we could throw it more into the Prince Goro outfit, or maybe we can do a little more stuff in the background. You know, maybe we could add more details. We can have like a Shao Kahn appearance at the end. Maybe we can pay for Christopher Lambert's, paycheck for the movie. I don't know. It just gives you a little bit of wiggle room to do kind of anything. And I'm pretty impressed with how this movie turned out, considering its budget and how he came up and, like you said, was able to do a lot with very little.
Yeah. And all great films are all films that you are worth talking about are pleasant accidents, and this one is no different. It was weird even at like 14 15 years old where I'm hearing Christopher Lambert is going to be playing Lord Raiden, the Chinese god of lightning. I don't think so. That's exactly how we all felt. And then we see him as we see next to Raiden here. It's like, this is so horrible. It's so offensive. Like, that's, what it is. But at the same time, it's Christopher Lambert and it's so over the top. It's fun.
It oddly works, which is completely random and strange.
I
But
didn't.
like the one drawback to Raiden in this movie, no fights.
Yeah.
Period. They save it for the second movie when they recast it, and it's just like, Oh, you couldn't pay Christopher Lambert's salary for this, could ya? Or were you trained, or was somebody else trying to entice him for another Highlander movie? I don't know.
The first person that was approached for Lord Raiden was Sean Connery. He passed on that.
I don't think so.
I don't see Sean Connery as doing this. No. He was largely retired at this point anyway.
They start, yes. Well,
Or he was getting there because he did The Rock.
he was getting to the point of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
And what was it, Rules of Entrapment or something with Catherine Zeta-Jones? That was his last like big movie?
Something like that,
Or
yeah.
Entrapment, something like that, yeah.
Where he was the cat burglar, or she was a cat burglar.
Yeah.
It started with him, and it ended with Danny Glover, and then went to Christopher Lambert.
That was not on my bingo card of what we were gonna do tonight, dude.
Oh, God,
No
I
Jackie
can't take
Chan. How long? No other Chinese actors. I guess they were not available.
Come on, Donnie Yen. Come on, dude. He would have been just fine. Oh.
It's the big elephant in the room, but I mean, it is what it is. All you can do is just basically poke fun at it, and either it's going to sit there and fester with you till you're not going to enjoy the film, or you just get past it and laugh, because Lambert's pretty funny in this, and he did that on purpose.
Right.
God help him, he's a video game nerd too.
Oh yeah, and he's usually down to do things. Like he was on Monday Night Raw. He did a little guest hosting cameo thing once when they were doing a Highlander Endgame little
Cool.
trailer. Like him and Adrian Paul were both on there. They talked with like Edge at the time, who's Adam Copeland, who's in AEW now. And he's also done like these random B movies that are pretty good. Like there's one called Fortress from the mid 90s, which is really good, set in space. It's like an escape from a space station. It's really good. He's usually pretty open to do things. Yes, he kind of gets a little picky, but when you see some of his movies, it's like, the script isn't great, but it looks like he had a blast. And that's usually probably what won him over was, as long as you pay my fee and the script is fun, I'm in. But if the script is shit or you ain't going to pay my fee, forget it. I'm out.
Well, what had happened is it was almost like Halloween, where like the budget went to his paycheck.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do any of the big scenes that he had done in Thailand where they were filming, because it was costing too much to get him over there. And he said, if you guys just edit my face in over like a body, it's going to look stupid. So he flew out there on his own dime, stayed on his own dime, filmed the scenes for no extra, and then paid for the wrap party afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, dude really enjoyed this role. So it was sad that he didn't come back for the sequel.
Yeah, we should dig into that. I don't think we're really going to do Mortal Kombat 2 Annihilation. But I would be curious to know exactly what might have potentially happened with that.
I don't know.
I mean, it's too bad because they recast like quite a bit in the second movie. It's very disappointing. At least they had a pretty good young cast in this one, right from like Bridget Wilson all the way to Trevor Goddard as Kano, one of our favorite Aussie actors who's in a few movies, all the way straight up to like Lyndon Ashby, who played Johnny Cage very well. It's like,
yeah,
you easily could have screwed up Johnny Cage, and they didn't. And that was excellent. And even Robin Shou as Liu Kang was fantastic. He carried a lot of the big fights too. And like the other name I kind of recognized was Cary Tagawa as Shang Tsung. Absolutely fantastic. People identify him as Shang Tsung to this day. and I've seen that man in like 30 other things. So it's really crazy. Like when you look back, like there's some good names in here, and they all did really well with their characters. There's not one actor or one character in this you're like, yeah, they didn't really nail that. Actually, when you look at it, they did. It's just the script didn't kind of boost them up to where you kind of wanted them from the video games. That was what you're more against as the character rather than the actor themselves.
Agreed. And they had the opportunity to make him like the video game character of Shang Tsung.
Yeah.
And it would have cost more. And I'm guessing that was the ultimate why they didn't go with it. But and to your point, they took a lot from Mortal Kombat 2, in which case we had a much younger Shang Tsung in that game.
Yeah.
I think Shang Tsung might have even been black in that game. I'm not sure. But I don't remember. He
I don't think so.
I don't know. I may be wrong. But he almost was in this movie, so
Of course.
Oops, wrong clip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, Kevin.
But I mean, they started out with wanting to cast Johnny Cage with Van Damme, and Van Damme turned it down.
Good.
To do Street Fighter because he wanted to be Colonel Guile.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we all saw how that went down. So here's my thing about this. When The Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton came out, it could have been absolute shit, and I probably would have loved it because I watched the Ang Lee Hulk movie just before going to see it.
Wow, that's night and day difference between those two movies.
So
kind of like how Mortal Kombat 1 goes into Mortal Kombat 2. Level A, level F.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
And considering it all takes place like seconds after the ending of this movie. Yeah. It was just it gets off-putting.
It does. It really does.
But the fact that this did so well and is still looked back upon fondly compared to Street Fighter says a lot, because this didn't have a smarter script than Street Fighter per se. It didn't have the big names that Street Fighter had. Now,
God, yeah. When you talk about comparing casts, Street Fighter was like more stacked than this movie was.
Yeah, but a lot of that money went into Van Damme's coke problem and prophylactics for him and the actress that was playing Cammy or something. Apparently that got to be a problem on set. But this
I don't think you had to worry about that with this one because Sonya was not on screen all that much, but she at least got to snap somebody's neck with her legs.
That was cool, though. Well, I mean, they didn't get actors for Street Fighter that were perfect for that character, and they didn't show characters that represented the way that they looked in the games. Yeah. That's where this are like they didn't have to do shit. All they needed was this scene right here that was shown in the trailer with Sub-Zero and Scorpion walking into the room, and everyone got goosebumps and lost their shit.
Round 2.
Everyone lost it, and it was fucking amazing. The movie could have sucked after that, and it didn't matter. And in some ways it did. But again, it didn't matter. It didn't matter if fucking Scorpion's hand pooped a little fucking monster thing with a rope.
Yeah.
It was still Ed Boon screaming, "Get over here!"
Oh, yeah.
You felt it. And if you saw it on THX on the big screen, you really felt it. Like, it was good shit. You did not get any of that with Street Fighter. You got the bicycle kick here. You did not get Guile's bicycle kick or crescent kick, whatever the hell it was.
Or any of that bullshit.
Yeah, there was souls being stolen here. You didn't get any of that from M. Bison or like his shadow moves or whatever. And granted, you can't make Raul Julia do that shit. I get that.
Right.
But this movie did fan service right. And a couple of weeks ago, I think I called Mario Brothers Easter Egg the movie. This is probably this is fan service the movie, but they did it right, so it wasn't offensive to the fans. Like, you got to see Reptile. Was it Reptile? Yeah, no.
No.
Oh, it is at the end. Okay, yeah, sure it was. You kind of had to take things and stretch with it, as far as like the plot line. This happens because that, and this and that. This movie did a lot with doing very little, like just having the simple costumes that looked the way that they did in the movies, or in the video game rather. All that needed to have happened to get the audience set, wanting to get in the theater, and maybe even see the movie twice. Buy it on VHS when it came out.
Oh hell yeah! I don't think I got the VHS. I think that was around the time like DVD was coming out for me. Like, I didn't get the VHS because I was either moving or something, or about ready to move, and I wasn't buying a whole lot. That was my like last year of like high school. But I remember like the second the DVD came out, I bought the hell out of that right away, and I watched the hell out of this movie in college with like a lot of friends. It was, and everybody always had a good fun time with it. Yeah, we'd laugh at the stupid shit, but we'd enjoy all the fight scenes. There was such an energy and a spirit to this movie that is just so much fun. Yeah, we keep talking about how much fun the movie is, and the movie's got problems. It's a movie. What movie doesn't have problems of some degree? But to your point, it's just so much fun. You can't help but like just sit down, kick back, and relax with the damn thing.
Kinda, yeah. Like, and you get what you want out of it. You get, is this it here? No, that's not it. It is it. No, this is the Proud Mary. I'm sorry. That's another part of where all the budget went to, is Proud Mary here coming out of the fucking ocean.
Wasn't it Johnny Cage who was like, man, where'd that cheap ship come from? Or was that Kano? I forgot. One of them made a comment about how cheap the ships were. And I'm just like, oh, that probably was not cheap at all.
Oh, that was Kano. And Goro takes all
that was Kano.
Like, he's a great wizard. And that's so what? It's not a schooner.
Kano was so fucking good in this movie. I just wish he'd been able to use like, this is where I get down to like, oh, it would have been nice if Kano had used his eye as a weapon, and we got to see some fatalities, but at the same time, we got to see Scorpion and Sub-Zero on the live action screen. Yeah, the suits, you look at them now, they look kind of cheap, but back then it's like, I can forgive that because that's fucking cool. And they're mortal enemies, and they told the audience they're brainwashed, and they're serving Shang Tsung specifically. And just to see them rolling out together would almost put goosebumps on people's necks and send shivers down, be like, no, I fucking hate Sub-Zero. I fucking hate Scorpion. Oh my god, they're working together. Oh, people are fucked now. It's like, it's that moment of, here comes the Road Warriors. Oh shit, things are about to get fucked up now. What do? We get a Sub-Zero ice death. He fucking freezes somebody who smashes himself into a million pieces. No, we don't get the skull ripped out. We get a freeze smash.
Here it is. The good fan service. Like, you're not sure if he's going to do it, and you start seeing the CGI going around his hand, and it starts forming this ice ball, and you're like, oh, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. And he does. He fucking freezes this guy, and they wanted to change that. They wanted to make it cheaper and less like CG. And Anderson was like, no, you like freeze the whole fucking thing. We want to see it. And
that's the one thing he was like, we gotta have that. We can't go cheap on that. That's going to be something the fans will reject if we do.
Yes, I mean the Scorpion thing was really stupid. Yeah. So if
I'm a Scorpion guy, just saying.
Yeah, they handled the spear beautifully in the remake. So well. Granted, it was an actual spear, but it was just stupidness. It made no sense. Like,
Right.
yes, he's a demon, but why does his hand poop monsters? I guess the answer is, why does anyone's hand poop monsters? But still.
Yeah. Yeah, there. Yeah. I can't even argue that, like, at all.
But here's what really won the movie for me, and this was in the very, very end of the trailer, and on as our background here, is it opens, you see this door opening up, and Goro comes out from behind it. And it's
Yeah.
actually not CG, it's a practical effect, Prince Goro. And that would have been like me throwing my fucking bra at the screen, like, ah, it's fucking him. Because it was so fucking cool.
Yes.
Puppets make everything better, and they just didn't get that with Street Fighter. And okay, so I won't pick just on Street Fighter. There was a very long stretch of bad video game movies prior to Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat. So to hear that Mortal Kombat is the 4th highest ranking video game movie of all time, when it was the first good video game movie
To make money.
Yeah, that
too.
too. So we'd had Mario Brothers, which was a huge failure at the time, still a huge failure. Double
Will
Dragon.
always be a failure.
Well, it makes pretty good money on riff tracks, I bet.
Yeah.
Double Dragon, which also only made money once riff tracks did it.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 2, Gotcha was not necessarily a video game movie at that point yet, but was also stupid. I can't remember. What else did we have at that point? Did we have another video game movie prior to that in 95? The point is it all sucked.
Yeah, like a lot of them just were not good, like, at all. And the fact that even one was being made about this in Street Fighter is like, what does that tell you? Like, especially after Super Mario Brothers, the live action one, like, people just, a lot of us, kids, adults, just looked at video game movies as like, oh God, that's not even interesting, not even worth my time. You could love the property to death, but the second you saw that Mario Brothers movie or the Double Dragon movie, even, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
not great. Now, I get a kick out of the Double Dragon movie, ain't gonna lie, but the Super Mario Brothers movie, you couldn't pay me to watch that fucking thing. And honestly, when we get monetized on here, if people want to send in a super chat, if it's a certain dollar amount, we'll do it. I'm not going to say what it is, though. The reserve is not met yet, is what I'll say about that.
Meow.
I mean, it's not like we're watching Blood Rain.
Well, then we're getting into Uwe Boll. So that's a different league of video game adaptations that pretty much missed the point entirely.
Yes.
And yes, I did see the Dungeon Seat. I've seen most of those movies. I like his Postal movie. I don't hate the man as a director. I can't say I'm a fan of his video game adaptations.
Blood Rain is the only one I'm aware of, and I missed both of those. I think there's
Postal's
two.
actually pretty all right.
Postal.
Yep.
Not heard of it. It's not Kevin Costner, is it?
No.
Just checking.
That would be interesting. Kevin Costner being directed by Uwe Boll. Yeah. Just take this gun and start whipping that bitch.
Whipping the bitch.
Then again, Uwe Boll could probably knock us both the fuck out because he's a trained like fucking fighter.
Who can't knock my ass out? Shit. Even my wife goes just to scare me out of the way. Where's my money, man? Where's my money?
There's no sunshine, only darkness.
But anyway, just to show some of the things that we've been talking about and skipped over, like the moves and the bicycle kick, there's not a great shot of it, like even on Blu-ray, but they managed to make it look exactly like it did in the video game, minus his costume.
Yeah.
It looked fucking amazing. And you don't get to see any of Liu Kang's special moves until the very end, where he does that with, I believe that's Reptile at the end where he's fighting there. I think.
It's either Shang Tsung or Reptile.
Yeah, one of the two. But then he nails Shang Tsung with the fireball at the end. And when he finally hits that, like, you just pop like, yes, he did it. Because again,
Stone Cold.
Yeah.
That's what it's like.
That's something that you should have seen in Street Fighter. Was not there at all.
You never got any of that shit. Yeah.
Nothing that happened in Street Fighter screamed Street Fighter.
Well, that's, I think, ultimately the problem with the Street Fighter live action movie is they went way too much on the campy side. They didn't even try to stay in any sort of serious lane. Like, you compare them side by side, Mortal Kombat actually stays within its own lane. They know this is a goofy concept, but they try and make the most out of it and keep it somewhat serious in tone. Whereas Street Fighter, we have a relatively serious concept, but we're going to go fucking off the charts goofy with this shit.
They play cartoon noises for Foley edits. So.
Exactly. And in Mortal Kombat, they don't. It's a lesson in how you take two different properties and you just, one worked and one didn't. And it's a lesson in how you not do an adaptation, let alone, let's just go completely crazy with this movie. Yo,
yeah.
You want a Street Fighter movie, check out the Street Fighter 2, the animated movie we just reviewed last week. There's a reason we did that instead of the Street Fighter live action movie.
Either one of them.
I know not what you speak, Kevin.
But my problem with this is it does suffer from the inevitability that is the 90s.
Yeah.
It's very sexist at the end. So, like, Sonya doesn't get fridged. She gets taken hostage, put in this
damsel in distress.
Yeah, put in this skimpy leather outfit that was flattering and teased her hair really nice.
Sorry.
Yeah, right? And like they make no joke of it, or like no pretense. Johnny's like, what's up? He just says, nice dress.
Well, it is kind of funny because in the video games, Johnny and Sonya do eventually hook up. So they have a relationship. If they had kept the same cast for the second one, had a better director and a better sense of what they were doing, we could have actually had a pretty decent like 1-2 punch with the movies.
Well, I don't want to skip too far ahead, but when we do get to the very end and they're walking away, you don't want to have to be the bearer of bad news, but Johnny dies 3 minutes after this.
Oh, fuck. I hate that fucking sequel.
That was so stupid.
They just completely shit on everything the first one did. That's the problem with it. They basically turned around and went, fuck you, we're going to do something completely different. We're going to go Street Fighter on this shit.
It was not good. The only neat thing about it was seeing Shao Kahn, but you could see Shao Kahn in this, and he still looked cool enough.
Yeah, the face, something was a bit wonky with that, but
there was a promise of...
It looked like Ash versus Evil Dead. It looked like Evil Ash.
Yes, yeah.
And you're all welcome for that image if you know what we're talking about.
Where it's the cheeks and the lips are all burned off from the shotgun.
Horse.
Sally
Worth.
Oh, I can't help it. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but this is going to be one of those flicks that is a guilty pleasure movie for a lot of people for a long time. I don't think this movie is ever going to fall out of favor with folks. Like, it's a movie that you can watch with your kids.
Oh yeah.
I watch a slew of horrible shit with my 4-year-old specifically, but my kids watch a lot of bad stuff with me. They're not
101.
I'm not great at it, but it's like I have to watch X amount of episodes of RoboCop throughout the day, and my kid's with me all the time. So my kid knows to say no to Nuke.
Hey, parenting 201. That's the next
Uh,
semester.
Yeah, but no, I mean, you can watch this with kids.
Yeah, there's only one bad word in here. It's the bullshit, and that's it.
And that's what Shay told them. You can't kill any people on screen. That'll get you R rating. And you can only say one swear word, and it can't be fuck. And that'll get you the PG-13. So they had to stay within those confines. And I felt bad in a way, because it's like, yeah, that's easy to do, and you're wanting to make a movie for a broader audience, but that's not the vision that I'm sure Paul went in there with, like wanting to make this brutal ass fighting flick.
Final round.
Yeah, like there was no uppercuts flying off the pit down into the bottom of it to the spikes.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't save the picture. Shang Tsung does fall on spikes.
Yes, he does.
And
But it's not as gnarly as you think it is.
No, it wasn't. There was no blood. I don't even think they had all this. Well, I guess there was some souls, but
yeah,
they ran out of budget.
Vortex.
Yeah, they ran out of budget at the end and had to do some extra reshoots. And
at least it wasn't like Blade with La Magra,
which the prelim looks better than the final product for La Magra. Just throwing that one out there too.
Just saying. And I love Blade, but
oh, Blade's fantastic until the last 5 minutes.
Well, as he says, some motherfucker's always trying to ice skate up a hill.
I should see my son. Anyway. My boy's smart, but not smart enough to not to be like, my dad did that a long time ago too. Fatalities, though.
Finish him.
They only really showed one fatality, and it made me kind of sad, but it was still cool to see. And that's where Johnny does the splits.
The nut shot of death.
And you're like, oh man, and he fucking rails Goro right in the nads.
I remember watching this movie and I was like, what the fuck? Because I remember the whole audience just went, oh, wasn't expecting that. Then he runs off and it's like, hey, wait a minute, where are you going?
Punches him in the nuts and runs away.
Hey, he had a plan. Got to give him credit.
All I could think of was flawless camel toe. Exactly. That's the laugh that's always in my head at night.
Hey, we're going to be keeping that one around for future reviews.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I want to say, like, probably the only other thing I'd talk about with this movie is, like, the fantastic music they had going on. Like, I love the score. I love the techno beat, the Mortal Kombat theme that people would know for, like, years upon years. And just the fact that even Boone and Tobias, like, they look at this movie and they're like, hey, we like what we did here. And it was successful enough. It launched the franchise even further. Yes, we got a shitty sequel, but we also, people are going to, you can hate on me. I don't give a shit. I like the Mortal Conquest, the live action show that was on TNT. I know, goofy, campy shit. It wasn't great. Did you watch the whole thing all the way through? Because the ending actually, they stick the landing with that one. You got to get through the whole show, though, but it's fun. We might actually cover that at some point. But they had a couple animated cartoons, and it's persevered through the years to where animated Mortal Kombat from Warner Brothers is really good. The cinematics tell a great story in the video games these days. How you feel about the games and how they play, kind of a different story. That's more of a gamer sort of question. I've only played like Mortal Kombat 10, but like there's Mortal Kombat Legacy, which was like a short little show that was done on YouTube. Those are pretty good too. And then we had the more recent reboot for Mortal Kombat, and we're getting part 2. I don't know if that's later this year or maybe it's probably going to be more like maybe next year, but they just cast Johnny Cage. Carl Urban as Johnny Cage. And hopefully we have a better main character than the person they shoehorned into that. So, but there's a lot to like about this movie. I love this. Like I said, I love the score. I love the soundtrack. I had the soundtrack for years. Even Tracy Lords had a part in the theme song. That's why she's credited at the end with the Control song that this is based off of. So
Really?
Yep, it was a techno version of a song that she put together.
Ah, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty goddamn cool.
Yeah, I thought so too. But hey, I like this movie. Love this movie. Kevin, you got any last thoughts or any slides you didn't share yet?
Yeah, actually. There was a couple things that I wanted to talk about.
Cool.
So Sonia did all of her own stunts, and you could tell
and she
that they
did her
cut
own acting too.
as well. Yes, not many people do that.
Mm-mm.
But this shot here, where she's fighting Kano, the stunt guy kicked her,
Oh yeah.
and you don't necessarily see it in the picture here, but he kicks her square in the breast, and they just let the shot roll, and the look of pain on her face brought tears to my own face. Like, I felt so bad. Like, I've had that look on my face getting kicked in the nuts a few times, so it's like I felt it.
Well, there's only one thing I got to say about that.
And then the last thing I wanted to share with everybody was this epic sexiness. There's just no other way to put it.
That one good eye staring at you like that, Kevin.
This man is pure sex. So anyone that wanted to be straight, gay now. Anyone gay, straight now. Anyone wanted to have sex, never having ever again. He shaves an interocitor into his chest and blows kisses.
Yeah.
Glad I had it before.
I don't think so.
So from this point on, yeah, traditionally Kanos have been Australian gross, over sexy and sweaty actors.
Thank you for that image, Kevin. Totally appreciate it. That's why you are Shao Kevin, and I am Shang Suns and Shadows. So thank you everybody for tuning in. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Comment down below. You got any favorite characters, favorite lines, things you like, you don't like about this movie. We want to hear about it from you. And also hit that little bell notification when you subscribe. We'd love to have you along for the ride. We got some more fun movies along the way. Next week, we're going a little more older school with our video game swing that we're doing right now with joysticks. And we might have a special surprise for that one. So you might want to stay tuned for that. So thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see your asses next time.
Finish him.
Make sure you check us out on all our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at SunsAndShadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.